Hello pilots, this is F-35c V2 and today I am back with my Freewing F-35 version 2. As some of you might remember, I bought this plane in July 2019 and in general I was pretty happy with it, but of course that did not mean that there was no room for improvement. And before some of you get any crazy ideas, no, I was not talking about the power system. No, I was actually talking about the landing gear, or to be more specific, the landing gear struts, which had no suspension at all, not even a simple spring. And the other thing that I found kind of annoying was the battery bay, which on this plane is on the bottom side, and at least my regular viewers know what I think about that. Third and last topic on my list was the paint job. Not that it looked really bad in its plain grey, but this kind of color scheme is kind of hard to see in the air, and this is not a small issue for an RC pilot. And I have to admit, I also find it a bit boring. But of course I'm not here to just complain about these things. So let's start with the landing gear. I'm in this hobby for quite some time, and like most modelers I am also a bit of a hamster, at least when it comes to throwing important parts away. Stuff like landing gear, for example. So long story short, I just had the right trailing link suspension struts laying around, which with a few minor modifications fitted perfectly to the original retracts. With the landing gear fixed, it was time to start thinking about the battery bay. So I basically ripped out the battery hatch on the bottom side and replaced it with a self-printed battery box. Glued into the bottom side of the plane, it will not only close the ugly hole there, but it will also secure the flight battery without using battery straps, which is also a major improvement in my opinion. After that I turned the plane around and cut a new hatch into the top side of the plane, right behind the cockpit. It's not the first time I made a modification like that, and it's actually easier than you might think. And while I had the plane open like this, I used the chance and reinforced the front landing gear with a little plate of balsa wood, just in case. Then back to the hatch. At first I was thinking about magnets, but then I decided to go with a locking pin. A few extra cuts into the foam, a thin plastic cover and a little spackle was all I needed. During a coffee break I reviewed a few flight videos of my F-35. They looked okay, but I'm always a bit worried about the landing. And to shave off a few kph on your landing speed is never a bad idea. But for that you need more lift, of course. Which means you either need flaps or simply bigger wings. Well, I went for the simpler solution, bigger wings. So I drew up a few sketches to build some wing extensions. I used blue core foam for the actual build and a few carbon fiber tubes to reinforce the whole thing. After that I roughed up the wingtips a little and then glued the new extensions to the wing using 15-minute epoxy. After that I let them dry for a few days before I started to sand down the blue core to the wing profile, which took me a little bit longer than expected, but the end result was not bad. So with the new extensions fitted to the wings, the wingspan went from close to 800 mm up to 920 mm. And the best part was that the following test flights showed that they worked even better than expected. Then it was time to continue with the cockpit, but I didn't went too crazy on it because I wanted to keep the plane as light as possible. Just a few details and a little bit of color made it look much better than the plain grey of the original. I taped up the canopy and prepared the plane for the base coat. Usually it takes me some time to find a suitable color scheme for a plane, but in this case, where the medium sky grey was not an option due to its poor visibility, I found a cool looking color scheme long before I started with this build. So I gave the plane a light sanding, cleaned it and started with the blue-grey base coat. I let that dry for a few days before I started with the pre-shading. It's a bit time consuming, but it worked well in the past, at least for me. After that I grabbed my airbrush and put on the main color I chose for this plane. Followed by the camo scheme, followed by the decals, and a very light weathering to finish it up. So here it is, the Freewing F-35c Lightning II version 2 in the color scheme of the Japanese Self-Defense Force. Well guys, this was it for today, and I hope you enjoyed my little mod video. And as always, if you guys have a question about the video, the plane, the mod, or anything general RC, just leave a comment below and I will try to answer it. Thanks for watching guys, Warbird Fan 66 out.